Yo, good morning. Good morning. Just want to document my feelings after Wakandacon and follow up on conferences in general and just how I go through, my feelings on it. This was this past weekend, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of August 2018 in Chicago. Just went to the first Wakandacon convention. It was, for all intensive purposes, a conglomerate of a lot of things, and it actually could have even been more. But it was part sci-fi convention, science, comic book convention. It was also a tech conference. And then I guess lastly, you would probably want to say it was part grassroots organizing conference or meeting or gathering. Chicago is hot because they produce a lot of top political and just educators. Jawaza Kanjufu out of Chicago, Minister Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson. Just to name a few of the people that come out of there. So that just goes to say that there's a lot of political thought in Chicago. So how did I do? How did it go on? I didn't really have a table. I didn't get an exhibitor table because it's hard to take a lot of books to these conventions with paying an extra for check bag. Now, in the future, like if I do a real big convention, I will pay, $25 a flight. So that comes up to about $50 on some of the airlines, and that, can be 5 books. Or it can be 10 books, in terms of profit, because for every $15 book, I may make $7 off of that. After ordering the books and paying for all that. Anyway, that's just how I break down my finances. Airfare, hotel, vendor table, whatever promo I have. I don't really factor in food because I got to eat when I'm at home. So as long as I don't go out to those big restaurants, I don't really factor that in. So it also pretty much falls into promotional budget, or whatever I put down for my book promo, because unless you're selling like 100 something books, it's hard to make a $250 plane ticket, $125 a night, $150 a night. Like Wakandacon downtown Chicago was $250 a night hotel, so 3 nights at $750. Or you stay $130, that's still over $300, in hotel for 2 or 3 nights. So that can be expensive. So you could be looking at, a table at $100, $50, and you're lucky, which they don't really ever have those. So you have $100 there, then you have your plane ticket, $250, then your hotel about $3. So you're at $600, $650 easy, So you got to sell a lot of books for that. So the cool thing about having a table is that regardless of whether you sell books, you got visibility, and you get most of the attendees get to see you. Now, there are some attendees that don't go through the exhibit halls or the dealer rooms, but most people, probably 95% of the people do. So you're gonna meet those people, and if you have something to give to them, they walk away with a little bit of hello from you, and you're there to talk to them. And for me, it was my first time in Chicago as a sci-fi writer. I've been a couple of times as a student activities entertainment provider. I went with the NAACP, And those things, I'm familiar with the city, That said, I don't like deep dish pizza as much as I thought I did. I found out that I really just like Pizza Uno, but that's beside the point. So I chalked it up as a marketing opportunity, networking event from the jump, and I wasn't disappointed. The cool thing about Wakandacon, they give you a table outside of your panels. Now, I was lucky because my monster panel got accepted for a panel, which was hot. It was like one of the best monster panels that we had, and in terms of getting to almost all of my questions. I think we had about 3 or 4 questions that we didn't get to, but in the 48 minutes, that was really hot, and I enjoyed it. But I will say also that if I didn't have a panel, then I probably would have I probably would have maybe gotten a table. So I factored that in because I was getting some visibility. Hold on. All right. So if I had not had a panel, I would have, I don't know what I'd done. I mean, when you have a table, you have to be there the whole weekend because you have to run your table. And you get a chance to, sell your books and your merchandise, but you really got to bring enough to do that. And for me, it was my first time in Chicago. Cool thing is I had a lot of internet marketing. So this video and other things that I post up, people heard of me, Some people have gotten my books offline. So that was cool. The problem is, outside of my panel, people may not have known where to reach me, and if they weren't there on Saturday at 12 noon, then the chances of them running into me was really hard. So if you don't have a table, it's really hard for people that want to get to you and get with you to find you. So that's the downside. But I talked to a couple of people, hung out with them, sat at some tables with people, and it was cool. I met vendors, a couple of bookstores, had an incredible conversation with a young black guy. I'm trying to connect with him on social media, but I think the way he wrote his name down, it doesn't read right. But had an incredible conversation with him about comic books and the writers and heroes and Luke Cage, the Falcon, Black Panther. So it was really cool. And for me, we have a bunch of comic book stores down here in Miami, but because of the patronage is so mainstream, they're not well versed in the black comics that are coming out, because we're getting some new things. We've always had Luke Cage, we've always had Black Panther, but in the last 2 years, the writers have become black and of the comic books, and they have had an impact. I mean, the other writers, the mainstream white writers or Latino writers, they're good, no doubt. They've stepped up their game. But when you have some of these new writers like David Walker and my new favorite writer, I can't remember his name. He writes Falcon. Check it out. He even wrote a Lando series for Star Wars. These guys are tearing it up. And I read the book Black from Black Mass, the one where the kids hands up, just got picked for a movie. I had the book, but after talking to the young brother and my flight, I was able to read the whole book. I should do a review on that, maybe a video review. But anyway, that's kind of it. I think overall it was a 8 or 9 in terms of my feelings in the convention. A 10 would be me taking books and selling like 300 books, and walking away with a publishing deal or a comic book deal. So none of that happened. But I did meet Van Jones. I was able to give him one of my books. I talked to a survivalist, which is a real character in in my Harlem Shake series, and I made a lot of good contacts. So, and I sold some books. You know, I sold quite a few books, walking around at the table outside the panel. So all in all, I think it was good. This is how I kind of wrap up stuff. In my mind, like I'm on the airplane, I'm thinking, yo, how did I do at this convention? Should I go back? Now, would I go back? Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I would love to do that. I took my wife and my son because he had never seen Chicago. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see a lot of Chicago. The conference was really there, and the hotel, they had Lollapalooza going on at the same time. Hotels was up, the city was packed. So we have to go another time to see things. Anyway, but yes, I think the second time I will go will be a lot different because I sold quite a few books, but I gave out over a couple hundred bookmarkers, and it was good because down here in Miami, you know, or just mainstream conventions in general, you see a black person, you know, and they see you, and it's kind of this weird, awkward moment where, are you going to come to me, or am I going to have to say, hey, are you going to come by my booth? Because it kind of feels weird if you're like the only black person in a convention and a black person walks by you. It's kind of weird for them, and it's kind of weird for you. So, I don't know, you know, but this convention, sheesh, all I had to do was say, hey, hello, have you been here yet? And people were like, yo, cool in the gang. You know, they were stopping by. So that was a really good thing about it. So I thank you, and see you next year. Bye-bye.